Well, to those who are watching, welcome to another Collegiate Conversation. I'm excited to be joined by three different collegiate staff from around the network and around the country, and excited for our conversation today. But before we jump in, I'll let you guys introduce yourself. So how about Sarah? Would you introduce yourself first?
Sure. So I'm Sarah Birchfield, and I'm on staff at H2O at the University of Toledo. I just transferred here a year ago from Bowling Green.
Very good.
And
Very
I've
good.
been on staff since 2011, so 10 years.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Sarah, for being here. Chandler?
Yeah, my name's Chandler Barnes. I am on staff at New Life Church in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I've been on staff since 2018, so just over 2 years.
Cool. And Joshua?
I'm Joshua Jarma at 242 Church in San Marcos. I've been on staff for about 10 years.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys once again for joining for this conversation. I'm excited for what we're just going to talk about today. To set the stage, I emailed you all, but for those who are watching and listening, I've been thinking a lot about this last year and how it has probably been tougher on people in all shapes and sizes, both for those who are doing ministry, for the students, and others who we are caring for and shepherding, and thinking of, man, what would be encouraging? How do we go about being encouraged and realize first having that energy going forward? And I thought of this verse. I'll read the context. This is Romans 12, 9 through 12. It says, love must be sincere, hate what is evil, cling to what is good, be devoted to one another in brotherly love, honor one another above yourselves. Never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with God's people who are in need. Practice hospitality. And the verse that stood out to me was verse 11, that never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor serving the Lord. And I thought, man, what a great topic of conversation to have and to encourage one another, even if we're not very good at this, that there might be something that we could just share in honest vulnerability to encourage one another. And so that's why you're all here. And I'm excited to hear what the Lord has put on your heart. And so before we jump in, or to start, I guess I just love to ask, what does that mean to each of you all? What does it mean to have spiritual fervor? What does that look like in your life? Yeah. And whoever would like to jump in first can go for it.
I think a lot of it for me comes to just having God and the things of God on your mind regularly. And what that doesn't mean is necessarily like a stereotypical, like kind of constant outburst of like vocal prayer. It doesn't mean I don't know that you look spiritual all the time necessarily, but I think it's a little bit about a kind of just a viewpoint of looking at things the way that God looks at them. And so as and so there's small, I think, subtle changes, and I can kind of feel it in myself when I'm living and acting in a way that feels like even just the ideas of being in step with the Spirit, right? And that I'll see things differently than times when maybe I'm less so. If it's so, yeah, I just think a viewpoint of God and just a viewpoint with eternity and things like that too.
Yeah, I resonate a lot with what you said. And I think what it comes back to, this is like the Sunday school answer in a way, but like just being constantly reminded of the truths of the gospel, and like having that be something that is ever present in my life. Similar to what you said, Joshua, it's not a thing where it's you necessarily look overtly spiritual or in a better place, but there's something about constantly being reminded of the fact that, yeah, Jesus has died for us, in the life that we get to live because of that. So I agree totally with what you said, and would add that as like obviously the foundation for everything. And the thing that I think I notice in myself when I think about spiritual fervor is when I have that, when I feel like that encouragement from the gospel and being saturated in that, I just always feel like I want to do more things. And obviously, there's a time to not do things even when I want to do things. But there's a place of, I want to go meet with the student, or I want to go figure out how do we reach this dorm better? Or like, how do I teach about this subject that God's had on my mind? Like there's a constant wanting to kind of go do something. And so that's kind of a measure where I can see in my own life, and that might be a question we talk about later, but when that's lacking, I can see that might be a sign to take a step back and kind of look.
Joshua, when you were talking, it made me think about like a gas light on a stove, and how like sometimes you can't see it when it's on, but like the light's always on, like it's always like ready, and then you like turn it up at different dials. Because like sometimes it is just barely there.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was just thinking about like the different like levels of excitement, like spiritual excitement about things, where it's like the high levels are when you're like, I want to do all the things with Jesus, I want to go out there and get it. And then other times when it like feels like I feel very, very cold and I am trying my very best to like cling to the Lord right now, and keep him in my mind. Or sometimes like, or spiritual dry times where it feels really like, I don't know what God is doing, but I'm here.
Mhm. Yeah. Even as you say that, the parts, I feel like there's a difference. We can still be high zealous when we're asking God, I don't know what you're doing, and I don't even feel you here. That to me, that doesn't feel like, oh, now I'm lacking in my zeal. It means things have changed. There's a circumstance, but like, um, honestly, the times of most excitement, I think, in my life have been the hardest ones. And those can include the things of like, God, I don't know what you're doing. And I don't know where to go. So I guess I'll just sit here until I know something better. But those are also can be really powerful times of connecting with God, even if maybe outwardly it doesn't look like it. Yeah, I think your fire example is really good, because sometimes that fire is actually still burning really bright. And maybe the problem is that it's about to explode. I don't know.
Watch out.
Your house is about to blow up. But I think it's important to not be discouraged by rough times and circumstances, that those two things aren't necessarily connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even thinking about the fire, right? The phrasing I used was stoke your zeal, right? And stoke is a for fire, and I was thinking too of fire is enjoyable, and on like a cool summer night, if you're gonna roast marshmallows, right? You got to stoke the fire for that. And then there's times where fire is essential when it's cold, and maybe there's those seasons, but the practice of stoking still seems there's still to keep a fire going. So I'm glad you kind of naturally segued that with that analogy there, Sarah.
Here you go.
Yeah. But when it comes to stoking, when it comes to keeping the spiritual fervor, whatever the season is, what does that look like in your lives?
So if we're going to use this analogy of stoking a fire, right? That's like, you turn the little logs over so that the heat comes up, right? I think you throw another log on the fire, and what that looks like practically is you just talk to people. I'm never more excited about God than when I'm talking to somebody else about God. Like I can have an internal excitement that builds up and then like carries me forward. But then it's just it's always bigger, brighter, hotter when somebody else is there with me.
So would that be Well, I think of that is we'll step away from the fire analogy. There's a piece of I remember the truth as I now once again speak it to somebody else. Is that what you're kind of getting at?
Yeah. And I think what Chandler said earlier was good too, just that being reminded of the simple truths of the gospel, speaking it to myself is good. Sharing it with someone else is good. Um, and I think it can catch both ways, right? Where we can help pass it on to other people when we're feeling low, they can help pass it on to us. If we're both feeling low, it actually can still build up, right? Either way. Um, and then if you're with somebody else who's also just burning bright, and if you're both burning bright, then those are, I think, some of those cool, really memorable experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's even kind of an effect of like if you're sharing with someone else, you have to be. I feel this way at least. You have to be a little more confident even in what you're saying, or you have to at least tell yourself that you're confident in what you're saying. So even if you're like not believing the truth of the gospel for yourself, but then you talk with someone and you're like either offering truth or accepting it from someone. There's a level of when that comes into a conversation and it's not just for me, when it's not just in my own head, there's more reality to it, there's more truth to it, and I have to be more confident in it because it's not just something that I have for myself, but it's something that is in relationship with someone else. So I would totally agree that being in relationship with people is a big thing that keeps the fire going. I don't know if you wanted to keep the fire stuff going, Mike, but
it's all good.
look what we're doing.
It's stuck there. We're going to be using it the whole time.
We're camped out around the fire at this point. I mean, I'm thinking of I like the show Survivor, and you have one person who's tending the fire, another person's going to get the firewood.
Yeah.
Right. You take watch at night. So we could overplay this analogy until it's completely useless. But
until it burns out.
Yeah. Sarah, how about you?
Well, the reference I was thinking about was the Hunger Games, where she says fire is catching when you have conversations with other people. Because I think like there's different things that can count as like putting that extra log on the fire. So like talking with people is super huge. I remember even just thinking about with like evangelism or even like support raising like MTD, where you're talking with other people and you're casting vision. When you're sharing the gospel, it's like casting vision for yourself all over again, where it's like, oh my gosh, yeah, God is good. He did save me. Remember what that was like? And just kind of talking through those. I was watching this psychology video the other day on TikTok, and it was talking about how like self-talk is really important and good for your mind. And it's like, well, if self-talk is important, so is like talking with other people, where you're like reminding yourself that God is good, that he is gracious, that he is like worthy of praise, like all of those things, that he loves you, that he's there for you. So I think the people time, recasting vision, I think even just like the check-ins that we have with like blitz time in August, where we're like, it's all right, we got to get it, but also we have like so much time is spent casting vision for why we're doing what we're doing and getting out there and doing it. And then when we have like collegiate conferences or our like women's retreats and things like that, where it's like we have these moments like throughout the year, not just like Christmas and Easter, where we're like, all right, again, this is why we're here, this is who we're worshiping, and he's worthy of it.
Yeah,
I was wondering if you all could share maybe a story, or Sarah, you kind of just did with the TikTok thing, but a story of how you've experienced this maybe recently. I don't know if Sarah, you've got something you'd be ready to jump right back in.
I've experienced like the zeal.
Yeah, like what's this like we've talked sort of in generalities of good practices, but how have you maybe experienced that more recently via the story you could share?
Well, I was reading the God Ask super slowly. I've been reading it for like a year and a half, you guys. But he was talking about like how he doesn't teach his stuff. Like anybody can buy the book, but he doesn't like go out and teach his stuff unless they have like a great commission call. And like he talks about like these 4 different points about how like when we're reaching people, it's like for evangelism, for so like sharing the gospel, for helping people grow in that relationship, leading others, and then like sending them out, like exporting. And I was like, yeah, that's why we're doing this. This is really good. And it was just like a really good reminder in the midst of like just feeling really emotional about me moving. I feel like with the like transferring after 9 years at Bowling Green, and then being a student there for 4 years before that, it's like, oh, this is really different and this is really hard, and it's like emotional all the time, and I'm like, I'm just ready for when this will stop being such a big transition. But yeah, this is why I'm here, this is why I'm doing it. So even just reading that was really helpful.
Something that comes to mind for me is just some encouraging stories of students in the ministry. There's this young woman who is a sophomore this year in the home group that I coach at New Life. That she came in as a freshman last year, and right away we could just tell there was something about her where she was very connected with the Lord, even for a freshman. And we got to the point of like sooner than normal just being like, hey, do you want to like lead things for this group? Do you want to have she was already doing the natural leadership stuff where without a role leading the group in certain ways, and she's gotten to the point where she's kind of all trained up and in an official home group leader in the role that she is now this year as a sophomore already. And now she has another young woman who is a freshman who she has like taken under her wing this year. And I just can like see all of the parallels of like the year before and her, and then now the multiplication of life that is happening there. And so that's super encouraging, a little bit off the topic of what this is, but what has been super great in my own spiritual fervor and keeping that alive has been, I've just seen so many times in like coaching conversations with this student that her excitement for what the Lord is doing in this freshman student's life is like so apparent and real that it like is something that I can't help but like catch that and feel that too. And so there's something there where I see that in that moment, and I'm like, yes, I'm super excited for what God is doing in her life, what God is doing in your life through that relationship. And then I take that step back too, and I feel thankful and worshipful of God for like the past year and a half of this sophomore coming in, didn't know her a year and a half ago. And now we're in this spot where she continues to build me up as a leader in the group as well. So as we were talking about earlier, just like the personal relationships, there's a lot of places where it's like other staff and people who help me to keep that fervor, but just at the same time, there's constantly stories where I'm like, this young student has given me more encouragement than I could have ever thought. So that's even in the last question, I was thinking of that story and how kind of applied to this.
Yeah, recently for me, at the beginning of this semester, one of my others, the other staff here, Will Carter, and I were working together on putting together the material for our home groups for this semester. We're actually going to all our 2 home groups are going to be going through. And so we're doing a lot of just Bible reading, and what we were trying to find was we wanted to do 2 chapters per week read during the group. And we were trying to, like, through the semester, hit the major plot points of the story of the Bible from beginning to end, which that's pretty hard to do. You get to pick
Yeah.
you get to pick like 22 chapters or something like that for some of the breaks that we have. And so through that day, we probably read / skim read, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 chapters together. We had ideas, so it's not like we're going through every single thing. But in narrowing it down, it's like, okay, some of them were really easy. It's like, okay, well, we've got to have this section because whatever, right? We got to have the covenant with Abraham. So we got Genesis 12 there. All right, do we go all the way through 12? No, I don't know. No, I don't know. We can talk about this part because we got to make sure we leave room for the part with Isaac in there, right? All right, so what about this other part? Oh, I don't know. I don't think we got room. So we're just like going back and forth, like reading these things. And because what we've got in mind is this entire giant epic narrative from creation to the second coming of Jesus. And we're trying to like find all the best parts, right? And so through it took us most of a work day to get through it. And so yeah, I think both of us were just kind of like bouncing back and forth, and the whole time, what it is it's just reading and reminding each other and reminding ourselves of just that basic thing, right? It's the basics of the gospel, that God has come to save humanity. He's invited us into partnership with Him from the beginning, still inviting us into partnership with Him to still do the work that He's wanting done on this earth. And so that was really fun. I haven't had a day of fun work like that in a while, but those are just always really good. So I think reading scripture from that kind of a viewpoint can also be really exciting, at least for me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Chandler, what were we gonna respond to that?
Was mostly going to say exactly what you said. That's awesome. And also, like, if you have that list of how to do it in a semester and want to pass it along, it sounds amazing.
I can send that to y'all. I'm one of a personal kind of like back burner project is trying to get like an essentials Bible reading plan, because for real, we don't go through the Bible in a year, most of us, and it's hard to get anybody to go through. So I'm trying to like narrow down the essentials, and so I call it a first pass reading plan. I've gotten through like Deuteronomy maybe, and then I quit.
Did you guys
I don't
ever
think
read?
anybody's using it.
I know you're all men, but did you guys ever read Seamless?
Mm-mm.
So it's written by a woman, and so it is marketed towards women. But it's a book that goes through the Bible like that, and so it has like these different icons like around this map, and you get to read like different portions of the Bible.
That sounds really
That's
cool.
awesome.
Actually,
It is really cool. So definitely check it out. It's like you have like 5 days of homework, and then like there's videos and stuff that go with it. I've done it in a group, but haven't done the videos.
I'll need to collect these resources from y'all. Maybe we'll do the whole link below. Like check out the comments below, or we can maybe have whatever Joshua your resource is. It's so good. I mean, I get excited just thinking. Even we didn't read the scriptures, right? But as you were mentioning stories, of thinking, oh yeah, that was so cool and so cool. And I can't imagine how difficult that would be, right? Because then there's that point where like the zeal, you like, right, like it feels like the house is going to explode because the fires burns, or how you like, okay, so how do we carefully hand this off to the next person? Like what, how do we, but maybe we don't need to. Maybe we just go like, there's fire, it's warm, enjoy. I feel stoked just hearing about that. Kind of going to the other side though, like when your zeal is waning, those seasons, right, where we all have those, hopefully less and less frequently, but we all have those. What are some things you begin to notice? What are things that you begin to recognize in yourself of, oh man, I'm a little off here. I need some help to continue my work with fervent zeal.
Yeah, I think this we talked about it a little bit before, but I think it's the same answer, just that we just need to go share that with people. We need to, like, it's okay to go to people and say, like, man, I'm just not feeling it and I need help. Like, and that it's and it this is something that's been hard for me, is I think sometimes because I can be like the excited guy at our church, right? Um, and sometimes I can have a self pressure that if I'm the one responsible for making people excited, but that just doesn't work that way. Um, and we just need people, uh, whatever, to give it back to us. So we just got to go ahead and just be humble and just tell people, like, um, don't fake it. You know, if you're
Yeah.
not feeling it, then you're not feeling it, and go get help.
Yeah.
Help
I
being
can,
not like you're deficient, but help being like, just to connect with people.
yeah, I can relate with that a lot. I am a similar energy around groups, in just being the excited person. And I think as you said that, I was thinking one way for me to notice when I'm in that place is when I can actually take a step back and look and see, oh yeah, I'm totally trying to like just fake this excitement right now because people expect me to be the excited guy. So I could go to home group or I could go to our staff team meeting and be the excited person. I can do that for a short period of time, but I know that it's like out of just trying to continue to be the person that I normally am. Um,
Mm.
and if I can truly take a step back and look and see, oh, that's just me trying to maybe avoid the fact that I am realizing that I am lacking in some fervor right now, avoid something that is hard or difficult in my life. And it's hard though, because sometimes it can get to the point where I'm tricking myself even in those places. And so um, for me, it's just being able to actually take those kind of introspective moments and be able to self-assess at times to even see that at some point.
I think self-assessing is really important. For me, I think I'm more prone to like burnout type dry times where like I feel like I'm in the middle of a sandstorm, not necessarily like the desert, um, where I'm mad. I'm mad at everybody and anybody. And I'm annoyed and I'm like just irritated with everything. And I want to run away and I don't want to be here anymore. And so I think like those times are really telling where it's just like, why am I so mad all the time? Where it's like I need to like step back and be with Jesus and go talk with some friends, and spend some time like readjusting expectations and um like figuring that out. I think like I was watching this thing where it's talking about like worship is an act of attention to God. And I think when I'm feeling that way, it's like the attention is on me and my feelings are like running the show. And that's where I need to like reassess and come back to Jesus and come back to like spending time with him and figuring out like the creative ways to do that when I need to.
Yeah, I appreciate your honesty, to each of you, and just the stories. I almost had this thought of, if we're trying to do it on our own, that actually can often, I think, it seems to cheapen the actual fervor, right? Because our fervor actually, I think of Paul, like, when I'm weak, his power is made perfect. Where in those moments where our fervor is low, we get to go to the one who can fill us with that actual zeal and fervor. And when we fake it, it not only seems to block us from really being connected, to use the language of John, from really abiding and trying to bear fruit on our own. to, okay, I got to tap into the vine here. That's what I need right now. I need that life with Jesus. And um yeah, I'd be curious just to kind of transition a little bit from here. And I think this transitions into encouraging collegiate, but could you all just share how you have um, experienced some of Jesus just filling you with that fervor and zeal for himself? And even if you had a word of encouragement for collegiate from there too, I think just sharing would be encouraging. So don't feel like you need to direct it, but I love the stories. What encouraged me is people honestly saying, I need Jesus, because it reminds me that I do too. And so if you all had any stories of the ways that Jesus has met you recently in that and stoked that zeal for him, would love to hear those.
Can I go first so that my sad story is not the last one? Because it's gonna sound bad at first. I had like a really hard start to the semester this semester with some of my girls, and it's like really tough conversations, where it's just like, oh gosh, this is so hard, and just crying a lot. And so I had this shower thought the other day, and this is why it sounds bad, but I thought to myself, I could quit and go live in my mom's basement and just like run away, and God would still love me. Like God would still love me, right? And I think that's why it's encouraging, because it's like the whole point is that God didn't love me because I was doing the work anyway. Where it's like, oh yeah, God would still love me if I was sitting on the couch eating Cheetos, right? Like that's the whole point, is that that's not the reason why I'm here. That's not the reason why I am in ministry. And so that was like a weird encouraging time with Jesus, because it's just like, oh yeah, you love me. Like you are here right now, even in the midst of this, even when things are bad, when it seems like this is going to be really hard to like work through and figure it out. Like Jesus still loves me. He's still here, and I can still count on him.
Amen. That's so good. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that I think my story is not as much an instant story, but the last really 4 to 5 years here in ministry in San Marcos has just been tough. It has been one difficulty after another, sometimes predictable difficulty, a lot of times things coming out of nowhere. Last year's COVID year wasn't even like, it was like my third worst year in the last 5 years. And so it's, I think in terms of like zeal and just excitement and energy for God, a lot of times that just means you're just still here. I remember at our every year we do a leadership retreat in August, getting ready for the year. And one of those years, I forget which one, my goal for the year was, I think this is close to a quote, don't rage quit life, God, for the church. And I made it. And I got to my next year and I looked back and I said, oh, for once I actually accomplished my goals for the year.
I'm gonna write that down.
I didn't rage quit God or life. And that wasn't easy. That was by the time I got there, I'm like, oh yeah, that wasn't a guarantee that I was going to make that necessarily. But God is faithful, right? And so I think it's important to remember all the things when we read in the New Testament, all the encourages just to hold on. And they're all over the place, because sometimes, and I think this is probably true for a lot of people right now, but honestly, it's just true for a lot of people always. Sometimes we just got to hold on. and sometimes we got to hold on for a long time. And I think so. Personally, I feel like I'm in a much better spot than I've been in a while. But honestly, things are just still hard. My wife and I and our family, we had a really good Christmas break, a really good long Christmas break that we really needed. And we come back into the ministry year, and you know, we still just got to keep going. And so I think sometimes standing victorious with zeal and excitement, it looks kind of like you just made it to the end. It's like what came to mind just now was the end of the first Avengers movie when Iron Man is like, he's laying there on the ground and his suit's out of power. It's kind of like, well, he won, right? Nobody really felt like they won at the end of that, but they did. And so don't discount these things as part of our story. Those are the things that make a good story.
Yeah, even as I look back at Romans 12, I see phrases like cling to what is good, patient in affliction, right? And I think we can read those and they look good on a coffee mug. But when we have to experience them, when we're in those moments of like, you feel like the Lord is saying, don't let go, don't let go. Or even if it's just like more of him saying, I'm not going to let go, I'm not going to let go, that is just as much a part of us learning to have our spiritual fervor stoked. So we're going to remember those moments. And so thank you, Joshua.
Yeah, I swear, God, if one thing goes wrong tomorrow, I quit. I'm done. And that day, things were okay. I mean, those happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. For me, I had a rough time in kind of this past summer. I had a knee injury happen a while ago that I was in the middle of physical therapy recovering from when the pandemic hit. And for those who don't know me, I'm a big sports person. I play just about every sport. And so to be out of sports for a long time was hard. And so taking that and the delay of the physical therapy and just the way that it wasn't progressing how I thought it would, combining that with the pandemic left me in a spot where I was really struggling by the end of the summer, and actually decided to go to counseling just to have a space to be able to talk about a lot of those things. And the reason I went was because I realized that my knee and the things going along with that are overwhelming to me, and I need to figure that out. And from there, the experience that I've had in counseling is seeing how, like, in the grand scheme of things, how maybe small the actual knee thing was to it, and how there were so many other things behind it where, for anyone who's ever done counseling, I'm sure you can relate to that type of thing. And so, yeah, it's been a great thing for me to be in that and to do that. I'm the type of person who avoids uncomfortable emotions. And so to have a weekly time where I talk with someone about that was not the thing that I wanted to do. But I knew that I needed to do it because there was so much in me that was lacking spiritual fervor, where I just needed to be able to uncover so many things and understand what was going on before I could actually get back to the place where I know I have been and can be in terms of spiritual fervor. And honestly, this conversation comes at like an amazing time in the timing of things, because I've just felt like the past month or so, from this past summer, really just this month or so, really, I've had thoughts like, hey, I feel a little bit more back to who I am. and having that fervor that I look back. There were times during the summer and during when I was in counseling where I would be like, where's the person who I was in college? How much fervor I had for the Lord then, because of what the things that I was struggling in. And now I can look back from now and see, oh, there were just things that were hard that were going on that I needed to talk with someone about and to process and to bring to the Lord. And so my encouragement for Collegiate would be, if you are a person that is reluctant to do something like counseling, but you think you might need it, take that step of faith. I was very reluctant, but it's something that it is was just incredibly important for me in being able to continue doing what I'm doing now. So yeah, related a lot with what both of you said about in those times, just like understanding truly God's love for me specifically. And that happened through doing counseling. So
yeah, thank you guys so much for those stories. Coming up to the end of our time here, but I feel encouraged just hearing. I appreciate your honesty and vulnerability, sharing your struggles. More importantly, sharing how Jesus has met you there. And I think to whoever's watching this, to be reminded that God loves you where you're at. It's not about what you do. He loved you. He loved you before that, and hold on swervingly to that hope that He's called us to, and He's got us. And but to kind of transition out of this, a silly question for you all, just to kind of wrap up. Just curious, what are you having for dinner tonight? Lots of shrugs.
Leftovers of kimchi jjigae. It's a kimchi soup that I make. It's Korean dish. It's really good.
All right.
I think some grilled chicken salad.
Okay.
My wife and I do that like about once weekly, and we haven't done it in a while. So I think it's time for it.
All right. Very good.
Is it because you like it, or are you trying to like get more salad?
Both. I like salad when it's well prepared and put together, but yeah.
Very good.
My wife could have told me what we're having for dinner 15 minutes ago, and I would have forgotten by now anyway.
Yeah. I'm not sure what we're having either. We're kind of in the spot where we looked at our fridge around lunchtime and said, we got to go back to the grocery store. And again, thank you all for coming, Sarah, Chandler, Joshua. It's a gift. Thank you to whoever is watching and listening to this. This has been a collegiate conversation, and we will see you next time.